You're listening to Just a Dude podcast with your host, Nathan. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Let's roll. What's up, dudes and dudettes? Welcome back to Just a Dude podcast, where we dive into real stories with real people. Today, I've got Michelle Clifton joining me. She's a cozy mystery author, a mom, and a homeschooler, basically a superhero juggling a million hats. We're talking writing, wellness, and how to keep it all together when life gets wild. Michelle, welcome to the show. Give us the quick rundown. Who is Michelle Clifton?
Hi, Nathan. Thanks for having me. I grew up in Durango, Colorado. I was a small town girl. I now currently live in Cape Coral, Florida, which is the largest city in Southwest Florida. It doesn't feel like a city. It feels kind of like a town because it's mostly suburbs of Fort Myers. But I grew up hunting, camping, boating, cooking food from scratch, gardening, homeschooling kids, raising chickens, all kinds of fun things. So I'm kind of a small town girl in a bigger city now, but still trying to do small town things. And I write murder mysteries.
Yeah, that's awesome because just hearing your background, I have to assume, and I'm just going to go into this, but growing up in a small Colorado town, camping, hiking, hunting, that had to have influenced your outlook on life, right?
Absolutely. We really miss it, actually. I love being down here. But there's something really special about just being in nature. And we were just always in nature. It's so therapeutic. And yeah, it really shaped me. I think I'm kind of like a survivalist at heart. We went through Hurricane Ian down here, and it was, first hurricane I've ever been through, one of the biggest to hit our country. And I thought we did pretty darn good, probably because of our country background.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, those skills sometimes translate into so many more things that you don't even think about later in life. But yeah, hiking, hunting, that survival instinct that you have obviously probably helped you survive that hurricane, huh?
It did. It really did.
Yeah. What's it like for you, trading mountains for kayaks and beaches?
There are two different types of beauty, honestly. The biggest reason we traded it is I have some health conditions that don't do so well in the cold. And so trading mountains for beaches has been really healthy for me because I love the heat. I know everybody's like, Florida's so hot. You're like on hell's doorstep in the summer. And I'm like, it's divine. So I love it. I do miss the mountains. I miss that crisp, fresh air that you get. It's an icy air that, I don't know, it's just so fresh. It smells different than anything else.
Yeah, fresh mountain air. Yeah.
When you think about the ocean, there's that salty sea breeze, which is also wonderful, but it's very different. So trading both, I wouldn't say one is better than the other. It really is what you like, but we love being outside. So we've embraced being outdoors in Florida. That's why we do the boating and the kayaking and Florida hiking.
Yeah, and I've done that quite a bit myself as well. My wife and I have frequented Florida, and we're campers as well. So we have a travel trailer that we take with us, and we've been all over the country. But yeah, just like you, I love being on the kayaks. I love beaches, but I also love the mountainous views and being in the woods and things like that. So it's like trying to find that balance makes it, kind of makes life worth living a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's hard to find, like in Florida, I've noticed it can be difficult to find a little more like remote areas where there's a
Yes.
little less people or like just like wild open nature because there's a lot of preserves, which is great. And there's a lot of little trails and there's campsites. But coming from the west side of the United States, where like
Yep.
there's open land forever, it was very different for us because it wasn't just jump in the car and escape society. Now it's like you got to plan out if you're going to go and try to like sneak away where there's like really nobody
Right.
around.
Yeah, and it's funny, and you bring up that good point that being out in the western states, we have the Bureau of Land Management also has a lot of open land out there where it's just free use, and I live in Ohio, so I'm kind of like you, we have to find a state park or we do have a national park here, but it's hard. You got to plan to really get away from everybody to actually enjoy that quiet and comfort of being alone.
Very true. And back in Colorado, it was like just get in the car and drive, maybe 30 minutes.
Exactly. And I mean, Ohio's not that bad. Don't get me wrong, but it is. We still live in populous areas, just like you in Florida. So you do have to do a little bit of planning to get away.
Yeah.
And now, so for you, you've worn a lot of hats. You've been a teacher, chef, chicken vet, writer. How do these roles feed into your creative process?
think I pull from everything I've ever done, and then I try to create different characters that maybe have a strong suit for one of the things I have done versus, another one. So I can kind of create a bunch of different people within my own experiences, which kind of helps. Um, just because you can think of like all the different situations I've been in over all the different career type jobs I've had.
Yeah.
And I can pull little experiences from each and every one and create different individuals. So I kind of am a whole basket of individual characters characters inside myself.
And you know what, Michelle, when we first hooked up and I saw your background and everything, I related to you so well because I've kind of got the same background, a little bit different. Obviously I wasn't a chef or a teacher, but I was a police officer. I was an EMT. I was a 911 dispatcher. I now work in technology. I've worked in patient access. So, I mean, just like you, I've worn different hats. And I think that's what, I really love or has really helped me, to get the podcast going is that because of those experiences, I can really relate to so many folks. But seeing someone like yourself who's had these different career paths is something I really relate to because we both know that you don't have to just pick one thing and stick with it.
Oh no, that's what's so wonderful about life. You can have so many passions. It's really actually funny as I was just talking to a friend yesterday. My daughter's a Zumba instructor. I take her class. And we were all in class together afterwards. And I was just talking to this friend of mine. And I thought, gosh, you ever watch the movie Groundhog Day? Um,
Mhm.
you know, I almost, not that I really want to live every day over and over, but the fact that he was able to master so many trades, we were kind of joking, gosh, wouldn't it be amazing? Because I know how to play the piano, but not well. I would love to
Right.
spend tons of time like just diving into that. And I want to learn to paint and I'm writing. There's all these things I still want to do. So I was thinking, it'd be kind of fun to be able to like just live long enough to get all those skills honed in. There's always
Yeah.
something to learn.
Yeah, and you know what? The one thing that's always working against us with finding new skills or, being able to do new things is time, right? That's the one thing that we don't have. And I like that you used the Groundhog Day because it was like, here's a guy that's doing certain things, and now all of a sudden he's living the same day over and over again. And while he goes through different phases, he finally figures out to use it to his advantage, which, that would be great if we could do that in real life, wouldn't it?
Yes, and obviously there's a deeper meaning to the story. He needs to like, be a good
Yeah,
person, which of course we're all
exactly. Yep.
striving to do too. But
Yeah,
I think just the
absolutely.
idea of actually being able to really dive into all my passions. Becoming a writer has been my ultimate passion for a very, very long time. And so this is the one that I've been working towards very slowly over the years and chipping away at. And it's obviously my focal point in my now, I'm hoping, lifelong career. This is
Yeah.
the one I want. But, there is all those side things that maybe someday I'll do too.
Yeah, and what's awesome about this, and this makes for a perfect transition, but you've got this rich life that's really fueling your stories. But let's talk about how you turn that into these cozy mysteries.
Well, like I had said earlier, since I've done so many little things, I'm able to create different characters then that have a little piece of me in all of them. Obviously, I'm not any one of these characters, but just some of my experiences help do that. And I've always been a lover of cozy mysteries. I'm a hopeless romantic at heart. I like the Hallmark Channel and I love the Christmas movies. I love the little romance things. I've never been a great romance writer. I don't know that I would ever become a romance writer. I'm not sure. I do put romance in my cozy mysteries because I do love a little romance being
Yeah,
a
adds a
romance.
little flavor, right? A little color to it.
It does, and since I am a hopeless romantic, I've always just loved movies and books that just kinda give you that happy, fuzzy feeling at the end, but the mystery aspect for me is I've always loved doing puzzles. I've always loved, whether it be video game puzzles with my daughter, actual puzzles, with puzzle pieces, solving clues, escape rooms, any of those types of things. I've always really enjoyed that type of stuff, and I like reading those mysteries, but I don't like nitty-gritty graphic things. I don't like to read real graphic violence. I don't like to read, I feel like life, while I try to have a very happy, fun outlook and we try do a bunch of the different things, I feel like life can get kind of dark. And I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
want to add to the darkness because everybody has different pain points that are bothering them. So when I write, I don't write for the epic novel that will change your life forever because it's just such an emotional drama. I write so that you can escape whatever you have going on. You can enjoy a mystery. There is murder. I mean, how fun is murder? I try to
Right,
make it,
yeah.
but I mean, it's murder. So there's bad guys, and there's still like some darker underlying tones in my books. But what I do is I try to like lift it up with kind of some little bit of silly humor. She's my main protagonist, Taryn. She is an amateur sleuth. She's actually a party planner that never wanted to investigate anything, but bodies keep falling in her way, and she keeps getting caught up in it. So she kind of has to, and it's one of those. She's very meticulous and really wants to kind of control everything. I think that's part of my personality. It's something I'm slowly like trying to let go of. But so she needs to kind of have a control of the whole situation. And at this point, bodies happen. So for me, with murders and the way I write my cozy mysteries, it really is just to be more of an escapism, something fun to read and enjoy, and know that in the end, everything will end up happy and right. And it just all works out because that's the hopeless romantic in me.
Yeah, and you know what? I love that because a positive ending is always, a little bit uplifting, right? Especially when we're talking murder mysteries, all these types of things. So
Yes.
it's good to know that there's a little bit of a uplifting ending to these stories so that we don't, you don't leave readers down in the dumps, so to speak.
Well, no,
And
and there
it sounds,
are books that do that. There
oh
are that are
yeah,
like just gut wrenching. And I love that these authors are out there and they exist and they can write this stuff. But that's not how I am in just my life in general, and that's not the type of stuff I typically can read. So no, I kind of write what I
yeah, what
want
you know,
everybody to have. I
yeah.
want everybody, really, I want everybody to have a happy ending in their life. I want them to find the love of their life. I want them to end up just whatever is their joy. I want everybody to be able to experience that because I've been very blessed with a wonderful husband and children, and I just can't stop thanking the Lord for that. And so my
Yeah.
books reflect the happiness.
And it's so great that you have that, that thankfulness in you and, that you can thank God and for the things that are presented in your life. Because I think a lot of us fixate on the negative. I tend to do this on my own. And but when we have folks like yourself that can help bring that positive light and shed those positive light into different things like reading your books or any other way that we may interact, I think that helps folks too to stay a little bit more positive and hopefully have a better life, even though they're, might be reading your books for entertainment, they get a little bit out of it to maybe have a better, outlook as to where they're going to go.
Absolutely, and I do hope that it's like an escape. I mean, I know everybody has different things and not everybody has found their perfect soulmate, and, I know that
Right?
not everybody gets a happy ending. I mean, I've been very blessed with my husband, but that's kind of the point. These books are just supposed to be something really fun for you to read. Maybe your life, maybe you're just, maybe you're a nurse and maybe you work,
Hmm.
72 straight hours and you've been in the ER and you're just exhausted because you're saving people's lives. And the last thing you want to read is something about more blood and guts or anything else
Exactly.
traumatic. So in this sense, you could pick up my book and be like, okay, I'm going to escape. It's still murder, but I'm going to escape into something that's completely different than my life and just kind of try to maybe therapeutically put behind what you've experienced for the day or the week or whatever it is and just enjoy a little adventure someplace else.
And it's so great that you're keying on that moment of escape because so many times we have so many things going on in our lives that just stress us out or cause anxiety or whatever it may be, that sometimes it's nice to just pick up a book that we could go into, escape into a different world, and just kind of forget ourselves for a little bit, and just focus on this new character and go through this story, be entertained. But, that again, just like you said, but give us a little escape from everyday life or the monotony or, anything that might be bothering us. It's just nice to have that opportunity to escape.
I agree completely. And that's another reason that the whole writing is you can take a book outside and outdoors. So I really think that if you're in nature and you can just kind of quiet yourself and get away from everything, it's very healthy for all of us. I mean, everybody's jobs have different stressors, everybody's life has different stressors. So if we can all just try to find a way to take a couple minutes for ourselves, I think you end up more positive and almost more rejuvenated.
Absolutely. Yep, I agree 100%. On your website, and I believe, let me make sure I've got this right, saltyinspirations.com, right?
That is
You
correct.
share some writing tips, and this is great because I love this because there's a lot of folks out there that want to write, and I love when authors like yourself share your experiences and tips to help others. But what's the one piece of advice you wish you'd had when you started writing?
I wish I understood more of the editing process. I wish I had understood more of how long it actually takes. So you get so
Yeah.
excited when you write the end. You're finally finished with this manuscript, you're like, oh my gosh, my first novel or my second or whatever it is, because it's a huge accomplishment and you should celebrate. So this is not one of those like Debbie Downer moments. You
Right.
should celebrate. But the real work begins at that point. I had no idea how much extra work went into it all. And I knew that you needed to edit it. I knew that there was the whole formatting. I knew cover design. I knew all of those things. But I did not understand how long it actually takes. And that was a patience thing for me. And that's one of my life lessons I'm working on learning
I
was
totally understand that. Yep.
you get so excited. You're like, oh my gosh, it's done. So that means it's going to be published tomorrow, right? Or, maybe not tomorrow, but, like within a few weeks. And I think a lot of people get this idea that it it's going to be instant. Like it's almost instant. You're going to make tons of money right away, or it's going to be published right away. And that is not the case, unfortunately. And that is kind of I don't want to use the word negative, but it is sort of a negative aspect that you don't realize that you've got to push through and you've got to work through and you have to plan and just be patient. And that's something none of us want to do in this world, especially right
And
now.
you're especially now, right? Yeah, if you think about it, we are in a digital age of technology where we're given instant gratification almost everything that we do, right? So when you're writing a book, you see it on the page, you see that gratification, then you send it off to your editor or to a peer to review it, and then it slows down, right? You've had all this momentum and now all of a sudden you're just waiting and you're like, "Oh, is it good? Is it bad?" Right? But the one
Yes,
thing, and I think this is great what you're pointing out, and I've heard other authors say this too, is being an author is not a sprint, it's a marathon, right?
absolutely. The little tortoise and the hare esque. If you're going to win, you got to be
Exactly.
the tortoise.
Exactly. And so it takes time, and one of the things too is I would have to assume that you have to have pretty thick skin to give yourself in a book and then put that to an editor or a group of editors and then have them come back and just essentially rip it apart, right?
Absolutely. And it is hard. Let me tell you, it's like creating a child.
Right.
Your book is it's like my new child. My children are now young adults, but these are
Yeah.
my new children. They fulfilled that void. And it's hard because you want everybody to love it the way you do. And that's a tough decision or tough thing to swallow is that no matter what you do, you can't make everybody happy. You do the very best you can at any job or anything you're in. And you have to know that there'll be some people that aren't going to like what you like. And that is very, very hard to take at the beginning. And honestly, I think every time I release a book, I have the same fears. I think they're getting better as time goes by. But I do think that every time I release a book, the same thing comes over, the same just, oh my gosh, self doubt washes over me. Oh my goodness, is this going to be good? Are people going to love it? Is it as good as the last one? Then you start all these comparisons and you could really spiral down if you're not careful. So
Yeah.
you definitely need a good support group. You need a bunch of people who are able to just kind of prop you up and say, it's okay that not everybody likes it, or they do. I mean, whatever happens. But you're right, editors can be brutal, but they're wonderful and they're needed. I mean, if it weren't for the editors, you wouldn't have such a great book to
Right.
go. So you need
Yeah, exactly.
their what's the term I'm looking for? It's some form of critique. I can't my mind would
Yeah.
foggy. I apologize, but you need that.
Yeah, you need their constructive criticism and feedback to ensure that you have a nice polished end result.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's still tough though. I mean, anytime someone comes back and says, "Well, this didn't work here or that way," you put your heart and soul into it. So I get it. It's tough. Same thing like doing a podcast, right? Some people are going to like the show, some people aren't, but you got to take it with a grain of salt. Just keep trying to improve yourself and make sure that you focus on the content, right?
Absolutely. And the more you do anything, the better you get at it. So
Absolutely.
honestly, even with the self-doubt that comes in, imposter syndrome's a big thing, probably in
Huge.
podcasting, I would assume
Yep.
too.
Huge.
Definitely for authors, it's huge. But each time you publish a new book, write a new story, probably each time you publish a podcast, each time you do something, each time you accomplish something, you've already grown. You've already learned. You've learned from mistakes before, especially if you're attempting, really to better yourself and pay attention. And I really think that as much as I don't like it, our
Yep.
failures, because
Yeah, none of
nobody
us
likes
do,
that,
right? Yeah.
they actually help us. They help us grow as individuals in all aspects of our life. So I think it's important to take those failures as positively and as,
Yeah,
victory
I honestly think Yeah, Michelle, from my life, I know, unfortunately, I've had a ton of failures, but I feel that I learn more from those failures than I do from the successes. You know, it's like the successes, okay, we did everything right, we got successful, but the failures, those actually led us to that success. You know, we learned ways that didn't work and then tried different ways to get to that successful event. And that's got to be the same way with writing, right?
It is, absolutely, and again, kinda goes back to patience. You just have to be patient. It is a very slow race. It's just one of those things, it's a labor of love. I mean, you're passionate about it. It's a slow race. You have to be extremely patient with the growth process. It takes a while to learn everything. There's so much to know, and you'll never know all of it, but there's so much to learn, and if all you do is that every time you write with your heart, and you learn something along the way, then you're already leaps and bounds ahead of most people.
Yeah, I love that. That's great advice, Michelle, for everybody listening. And that's not just for authors, but for anything in life, right? I mean, you can apply that to anything that you do in life. You know, just
Absolutely.
try to do better is all we could do, one little step at a time.
I agree. And I think when you have a passion of any sort at all, if you can apply that passion, usually it comes out better because there you have such a vested interest in with inside yourself that you want it. You really want something to be good. So you're trying harder, even than the regular, like just a regular, oh, I think this might be fun. I think when you find that
Exactly.
piece of passion and you dig deep with it, I think that's when, amazing things happen.
Yep. Absolutely. Now, for you, Michelle, how do you balance the cozy vibe with keeping readers hooked? Because that seems like that's got to be a good balance there that you have to go back and forth on.
It's tricky, actually. I thought it would be easier, to be very honest. When I first started writing these, I thought it would be a little easier than it ended up being. It was one of those naive moments. I was like, this will be no big deal. It'll be great. It's tricky. Really, what you need to do is you need to create enough conflict and tension between either your characters or the situation, and you need to kind of keep snowballing it. So you just give your reader a little bit of information, a little bit, and a little bit. And the way I write first person. So my protagonist tells you the story as it's happening. So you kind of put yourself in her shoes. And I have to be very careful since I am obviously the narrator of the character. I know where the story is going to go. She doesn't. So I have to be very careful how much I let my protagonist know so that she knows how much to let the reader know. So
Yeah.
it's a balance between the conflict and the tension, making sure that you have enough fluff and stuff that makes it fun and lighthearted and humor,
Right.
but it's all about just that trail, that progression of, okay, this has happened. So what's the next suspenseful thing? And you want it to be somewhat suspenseful. I mean, like I said, not this gut-wrenching drama necessarily, but you
Right.
do want that suspense so that the reader wants to turn the next page. You don't want them to be flipping through
Exactly.
your book thinking, gosh, this is really cute and all that's fun, but like I don't feel invested. So what I try really hard to do is have my protagonist be somebody that you can relate to, that you want to root for, and have her experiences be something like you're almost fearful, like, what's going on? Is she going to be okay? Even though I tell all my readers it always ends happy. So you do know what
Hmm.
you're getting into. I want you to actually doubt it. Like while you're reading, I want you to be like, huh, is she telling me the truth? Is this really going to be okay? But not to that, like, again, not to that real dramatic, but enough that is everything going
Yeah.
to be okay? I don't know. I got to
Yeah.
find out. I have to read to the end.
Yeah. So you're looking to try to keep the reader engaged, but not traumatize them along the way.
Absolutely.
Exact, because I know there's books out there that could traumatize you, but that's what I love about the cozy angle of this going because it's not gonna be the blood and gore of the thing that where you're gonna have PTSD after reading the book, right?
No, no, and I have some darker underlying themes. So my murderers are bad people. I mean, you don't have I mean, I think all murderers are probably
Well,
bad people,
yeah,
but like they
it's
have
in
like
some way or another, right?
bad reasons, like bad reasons to be the way they are. And but like I said, I try to like kind of fluff it up and there's always some shenanigans. I mean, that's the whole point of the way I write is there's got to be silly at spots that are just like, okay, oh my gosh, that is absolutely crazy. But honestly, a lot of the funny stuff that I write, there's a grain of truth in all of it. Now, obviously, it's embellished. I am an Irish cat,
Right.
and Irish are known for embellishing their stories. It's a bunch of baloney.
Yep. I love it though. It's you know what? That probably helps lead to your storytelling, right? That Irish background.
I think it does. People tell me, and I don't know if it's true, but when I'm just talking to friends and we're out together, whenever I'm just telling them like a regular thing that happened to me during the day, I don't necessarily think is funny per se. It's just stuff that happens. They're usually laughing hysterically and they're like, what the heck? Like, what? I didn't know it was that funny, but they tell me that's how I tell the story is funny. So, I guess it's just in my blood.
Yeah. No, I love it though because obviously now we've got books that we can all relate to instead of just your friends that and your circle of friends there being the only ones to get to hear these stories. Now everyone gets to hear them.
I jot down notes all the time now. I'm like, "Oh, that sounds like this could be really embellished to something funny. Oh, this happened." So when they're telling me their stories, of course, I put them all into a little journal, and I have a little mug that says, be careful what you say. It might end up in a book." So
Right.
I
I
carry
love
that
that.
around, tease them
I
all.
love that. Yeah. And so on your website, you have, and this is what I love too, is that you have book recommendations on there. But what is a cozy mystery that you would say that everybody out there listening should check out?
My favorite, and she's kind of on the edge of a cozy mystery author. She's been my favorite for a long time, and she was the reason I became an author, is Janet Ivanovich. Hers are a little more towards the amateur sleuth side than full cozy mystery. She doesn't have the graphic violence, that kind of thing either, but hers isn't so much completely amateur. Hers is a bounty hunter, things like that. But Janet Ivanovich has a couple of great series out there. The Stephanie Plum series, it's long lasting, gone forever. Most people know it. I mean, I think it's been going on since the early 2000s, maybe late 90s. She's got like 30 some odd books out now on just that series. And then her Fox and O'Hara series is pretty fun too. I really love that. I just started a new author to me, Gina Lamagna, and I have loved her series. It's the Kate Rossellini series, and it's been a blast to read as well. And they're both written in more of my style, the way I write. I also have enjoyed Kyra Davis. She writes the Sophie Katz mysteries, and hers are also very similar in how I write. Now, none of these characters, they all have completely different backgrounds. One's like a detective, one's a bounty hunter, another one's a journalist, mine's a party planner. So they're all very different,
Right.
but it's that same kind of cozy vibe where there's a mystery that needs to happen. 9 times out of 10, there's a murder that needs solved, and it's from the first person perspective, the protagonist's point of view, and she just tells you the story as it goes.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so with yours and your books are they all a series or are they different books as far as what you've written?
They're a series, and they are all considered standalone, so you can read them out of order.
Pick one up, it doesn't matter where you can start, but I guess that's where I was going is where would you for our listeners out there that wanna get into your books and your novels, what would you suggest? What would be a good starting point for them to get into your mysteries?
So I've always been a fan of series that stand alone this way, and I've always just preferred to start with book one because
Yeah, right.
typically that's where you introduce the characters. So my book one is Party Planning for Murder. I recommend you read it before Cruises, Cocktails, and Corpses, just because there's a little bit of backstory that I think would be good for readers to know beforehand. And there's a bit of a few incidences that happen in book one, and they are referenced in book two, but not to the point where you couldn't enjoy book two if you had it first. So, I mean, you can start wherever you want. Book three doesn't come out till this spring, but I do have an in between the novels novella coming out this October. And
Nice.
yeah, so it's a short mystery. It just is a spin. It's part of the same series, but it focuses more on Taryn and her best friend Candace, who is in book one and in book two. There's some romance in book one, a couple of guys in Taryn's life, but this novella is really the two best friends. So it's a little in
Well, that's
between
awesome.
two.
So you get to expand the world a little bit and get a little bit more detailed with the main character.
Absolutely. And like I said, it's you can read whatever you want, whatever order you want, but I think you would enjoy starting with book one, Party Planning for Murder, just because.
I mean, it makes sense to me, but I just always like to ask the author first,
Yeah.
what do you recommend the best way to start? But it's nice to know that you could pick up book two and still run with it without reading book one. But obviously, let's start at the beginning.
Yeah, and it is true. I've been told by many, many people who have read book two that did not read book one, that they loved book two and they thought it was fantastic, and that they do want to go back and read book one now. So just because there's enough little like tie-ins, I mean, they're nothing that would, like I said, disturb booktube, but there's enough little tie-ins that now they want to go find out what actually happened, in the
Right.
backstory. So
Yeah. That's awesome, though. I love standalone series like that where they could just stand alone on their own, but obviously you're better with the entire series. So that's excellent to know, Michelle. And with your storytelling, I noticed, and I got this from your website, but you are kind of mixing healthy living into your storytelling, right? So how did that combo come about?
well, when I first started Salty Inspirations, I was kind of testing out having a blog. Basically, I'm one of those people that like to research everything before I get it done. So I was
Hmm.
testing out a few little things. I published some little journals, some gratitude journals, some choreography books, different little things like that, just to kind of get used to the publishing world. And I did it out of easy stuff to publish, nothing like a full novel while I was writing the
Right.
novel. And I do have a lot of health conditions. And so we've had to really change our diet and different things for me to be doing well. And so I thought, gosh, there's other people out there that are in that boat. I should start doing that. So that's still part of my focus. The website has started to grow more towards helping other authors at this point. There's virtual book tours, things that I am a host and I spotlight other authors and stuff. But the healthy living aspect is still on the back end of it. And I still regularly post recipes or little tips for kind of de-stressing or organizing your life in some way. Anything to just kind of keep you a little more sane because our life is so busy. I had originally wanted to
Yes.
post more about homeschooling, but I'm beyond that now because both my kids are out of high school.
Right.
We'll have homeschooling tips and things, but I haven't published them. So, if anybody you're listening wants to know about homeschool, send me a message. I'll tell you what I did. I'll tell you what did or
Yeah.
didn't work.
And I'm telling you, homeschooling, 2 kids, managing your household, writing books, that's a lot of stuff for any person to do. So you're like super mom here. But do you have any go-to remedies or time-saving hacks that can help keep people sane that were in similar situations to you?
The time saving hacks would be to prep as much, like make a menu plan. Make a menu plan and stick to it. Even if it's only once a week, if you don't want to plan the entire month, because that seems too daunting. The menus will save your life. And I mean, like down to the snacks, especially if you have little kids. Make a menu plan and do as much prep work as you can on one day. Because if you can prep like all your vegetables or make sure everything's out, all the meat's thawed, whatever it is that you've planned for your meals, you will be far better off and you'll eat much healthier. So that would be my number one. It sounds silly, and I can tell you
Nope.
when I fall off that bandwagon, it's brutal because 'cause I'm like, "I don't know what's for dinner. It's 5:30. What are we gonna have for dinner?" Like, you look at the time, you're like, "Oh my gosh, what am I gonna do?"
Yeah, it's so funny because that's where I was gonna go. If you're planning this out ahead, now you don't have that conversation that you have every day of, "What are we gonna have for dinner?"
But
It's
what
already
can we
planned
eat?
out, you're ready to go.
Or the kids, "Mom, I'm hungry. What do we have to eat?" Now, I will tell you, my son, he's 19. He actually just finished, firefighting school, so he's now a
Oh,
firefighter.
nice.
Yeah, he's going to EMT school next, but he still asks me, "Mom, what's there to eat in the fridge?" My gosh, that boy.
Do you ever say, "Hey, you have 2 eyes, go use them"?
I tease him all the time. I'm like, "Okay, there's a whole list of leftovers on the fridge. Go and look."
That's so funny.
I think
That's
he'll
so
forever
funny.
do that to me.
Yeah. And another thing, that I noticed, like moving forward after a mistakes, because you've touched on this, but any personal story that you're cool with sharing about picking yourself up or something, a mistake that happened where you were able to pick yourself up and keep moving.
Well, honestly, I think nothing horribly detrimental. I have been very blessed. We've had a few different little things that have happened. For instance, I had wanted to homeschool my kids and I talked myself out of it. I thought I wasn't going to be smart enough and maybe that the kids would be not socialized enough. Like I came up with every reason in the book not
Yeah.
to do it.
I mean, and those are reasonable fears, I think, that anybody that's going to homeschool has.
Yeah, I came up with anything and everything. The first, like, so my daughter was 4, a couple weeks short of being 5 when she went to kindergarten. And I just thought, no, you can't do this. Send her to school. She'll be fine. And she suffered. She did fine in kindergarten for the most part, but she had some anxiety. She was really little. I mean, she was only 4 when she started school. And so
Yeah.
intellectually, she was very mature, but she was immature compared to the other kids. And she really just missed being at home. And then her brother, and they're very, very close. They're 2.5 years apart. I mean, every single day I went to that school because I did the homeroom parent mom thing, want to be involved. on my leg crying when she's leaving. She's on the other leg crying. So we did that for 2 years. We're like, "Okay, nope, you guys need to do this. It's fine." And I just kept feeling like this doesn't feel right. But I kept telling myself, "No, you don't know what you're doing. You can't possibly do this."
That
And that was
imposter syndrome coming back, right?
it was big and I was young and I thought, gosh, there's just no way I'll know what to do. And I never felt like I was all that overly smart in school myself. I mean, I got good grades and I worked hard for it, but I didn't feel like, oh yeah, you're plenty smart enough to teach kids, you
Right.
know?
Yeah,
So
the same way that I would feel. I would not feel like I'd be smart enough to teach my own kids.
yeah, and you just don't. You really feel like there's just no way. So after that second year there, she ended up getting bullied. And I'm not one of those people that are like, oh, everybody's a bully for everything. But she did get picked on. And it's mostly because she just was she's such an introvert.
Mhm.
She just wouldn't stand up for herself and wouldn't do a whole lot of like kind of pushback on anybody. I have a saltier attitude. That's part of why it says salty inspirations. And I'll
So
tell you that
yep.
story later in a minute. But she's just a lot more, just very kind hearted and just very gentle kind of soul. And so after kind of pushing through for 2 years, she was great with her grades. She did fine. There was nothing like that. She just was not happy. And she's a dancer, like, so she was in other things. So finally we talked ourselves into giving it a shot. The Lord for me does open a lot of doors. I really feel, I mean, I'm not sure how everybody feels about religion, but I feel blessed. And I had a friend who now is my very best friend. She was just had met her for vacation Bible school the summer that my daughter had got out of first grade, and she homeschooled 4 kids.
Oh, yeah.
And I had never met her, didn't know anything, so she became a friend, and I was like, "Gosh, if you can do it with 4 kids, I can do it with 2, right? Like, I can do it."
Right.
And I asked her all these questions, and she was just the most beautiful, wonderful mentor I could have ever asked for. I asked her questions all the way up through my kids were in high school because her kids were quite a bit older than mine. And she's been the biggest blessing in my life because she gave me the confidence I needed to be able to do it. And my kids did wonderful things. So they're a testament to being able to be homeschooled and still be absolutely functional in society. My daughter learned to be a point ballerina. She's not currently doing it, choreographer for musical theater and dance. She
Nice.
currently teaches Zumba. She's an editor. She runs a video game blog and she's a teacher. She's a substitute teacher.
Wow, so she's got, like, many hats just like mom.
She does. And my son, he was a state champion wrestler. He was, he's just finished fire school, EMT school. He does jujitsu. I mean, he's just kind of an all around man's man sport
Yeah,
kind of boy.
I like
And,
it.
um, it's just a testament to say that while you can talk yourself out of something, sometimes you need to really open your heart and listen. And for us, it worked. I know that homeschooling is different for everybody else. Like everybody, the way you do things is your family dynamic, everything is different. So what I did for homeschooling might not match something you would want to do for your homeschooling. But for us, that was a failure that I really should have picked up because I really should have just done it when I knew I wanted to in my heart. I knew all along it was something I wanted to do. And everything worked out fine in the end because I ended up having enough faith and enough confidence to just take the bull by the horn and say, that's what
Yeah,
I'm doing. And here's what we're going to do. And we're going to just go for it. So, yeah.
yeah. And Michelle, for those listeners that are out there that maybe are on the fence about homeschooling their children, is there any piece of advice that you would maybe give them to push them one way or the other?
I think my piece of advice would be to one, know your family dynamic. What kind of commitment can you really give? Because you can very easily stress yourself out to think that you need to do everything. You don't have to do everything. And you don't need to model it specifically like public school. There's nothing wrong with public school, but you don't have to have this idea that your kids need to do, sit in a desk for the same amount of time, the same way, because it's
Right.
very different when you homeschool. You
Well, yeah,
really
and you know what the thing is though too is a lot of us learn in different ways. So just sitting at a desk and having a teacher teach to you is not necessarily the best way for everybody.
absolutely. My son actually is dyslexic. I found that out. And so for us, when he was in like third grade, for us, it was a huge blessing to stay homeschooling because we were able to help him do so much more than maybe other people would have been able to do for him.
Right.
And
He probably would have got lost in the mix, right?
I tailored a lot of his education to the way he learned. So, for anybody who wants to homeschool, I say, find a mentor because it's always good to have somebody that can say, hey, here's what worked for me, here's what didn't. Take it all with a grain of salt, kind of like we've been saying this whole show. Everything's, you just got to take the advice, take it with a grain of salt, and decide what's really going to work for you. Some people do really well with certain really structured schedules, some do really well with a little bit more lenient schedule. Obviously, you have the basics everybody needs to learn.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
as long as you're trying your hardest to teach those basic things and you're getting your kids involved in something they're passionate about, you're going to be successful because your kids know you love them and they learn along the way.
Yeah, and that's great advice because, that's the thing. Focus on your kids, focus on your family, make the right decision that's good for you, and I think anybody can get behind that. So thank you for that, Michelle, because
Yeah,
I know a lot of people out there now with, especially different things that are going on throughout the country and things. A lot more people are looking at homeschooling as an option just so they can control a little bit more of what their children may see, or learn. Because as we've seen, some things can get a little radical and take us off in ways that we may not find right for our families. So it's
absolutely.
and there's other reasons for homeschooling too. Maybe we're not in a good education system that's not going to provide the best, results for our kids. So we might want to do that. So there's so many reasons, but I love the fact that you gave, this advice to find a mentor, really decide what's right for yourself. And I think even earlier you said it on your own. Sometimes you just have to take that leap and do it.
You do. It's definitely a leap of faith. And I think it's a leap of faith in any path you choose for anything in your life because you can't possibly know everything. No matter how
No,
much you want to know everything, at least I want
exactly.
to know everything. And
Yep,
I do over
absolutely.
research. I will tell you that. I love to research to kind of get a feel like I know everything, but I know it's a facade.
You have the information, but maybe not all of it, right?
Exactly. You just keep trying.
Excellent. All right, Michelle, we're going to switch gears a little bit. I have a little segment I like to call Dude Q&A. It's where I'm just going to rapid fire some simple questions to you just to let the audience get to know you a little bit. But no overthinking, just the first thing that pops to your mind. And to give you an idea, the first question is, do you prefer coffee or tea?
Coffee, and I like it black.
Black and hot or cold?
I prefer hot. I prefer Cuban.
Love it. It's so
Love
funny. I cannot drink cold coffee no matter what it is. I don't know what it is. It's probably just a psychological thing, but I'm like, coffee needs to be hot.
do a few iced coffees, but then you
Get
need a little flavor. You need some floof, but I prefer just a nice hot cup. It doesn't matter if it's
Me
hot in the
too.
middle of the afternoon, just a hot cup of hot coffee,
Me
best day
too.
ever.
I love it. All right. Favorite Florida beach activity?
Gosh, I love sitting on the beach reading, but I also like just kind of wading roughly waist deep in the ocean water, just hanging out, floating, maybe having a vodka seltzer
Yeah.
water,
Nice little relaxation, right?
just relaxing and hanging out with my family and friends.
Awesome. Best cozy mystery weapon, candlestick or poison?
I'm gonna go with poison.
Oh, I love it. It's harder to detect, right? It puts
Absolutely,
more
and
mystery in there. I love it.
there's some good mysteries and there's some sneaky ways you can use poison too.
Absolutely. And I'm sure you've researched a lot about it, right?
I have. I
For
actually
you.
get a little worried. I'm like, gosh, my Google search is gonna be like, what the heck
Yeah,
is this
hopefully the
coming up?
FBI is not monitoring my web searches, right?
Exactly. Oh, it's like, I promise I write fiction.
Yeah. While you're writing, what's a good go-to snack for you?
I love hummus. Hummus, crackers, hummus, carrots, hummus, and bell peppers. I like hummus.
Nice. Chickens or dogs, which is tougher to wrangle?
Chickens are tougher to wrangle, but they are absolutely adorable because they do learn their names. However, they don't come to you quite the same way dogs do. They're actually like, oh my gosh, if you have a blueberry or a piece of ham, I'm telling you, those chickens will come at you before the dog will. So, maybe. But no, I think chickens.
That's funny. One word to describe your writing style.
Playful.
I like it. Mountains or ocean? This is gonna be a tough one for you, I'm sure.
This is all. So it depends on the type of ocean. Are you talking beach ocean or ocean, like deep ocean? Because if it's deep
Well,
ocean, I've got a healthy
let's
fear.
let's talk beach ocean.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna go with beach. I'm gonna go with beach
Okay.
ocean. My heart misses the mountains because they're beautiful, but I love the warm beach.
I'm with you too. I love visiting the mountains and I will go any opportunity I get. But if you were to say, hey, Nate, you're going to go, can either go to the mountains or the ocean, I'm probably going to pick the ocean.
It's just so, I don't know, magical.
Yeah, it is just something about it. If you want to share, worst mom fail you've laughed about later.
Worst mom fail I've laughed about later. Well, it's kind of a little dad fail too. So we'll make
Yeah, let's
the
hear it. Yeah.
so we used to have a whiteboard in our schoolroom, a big whiteboard. We put everything on it because my husband and I were coming and going with our jobs and taking care of the kids and doing everything. So my son needed picked up before he could ride his bike from jujitsu. I didn't write the reminder on the board. My husband forgot, and my son got left at jujitsu. And the funniest thing ever is that he doesn't let us live it down. He was like, and the thing that's so crazy is that he was friends with everybody there. So it was by no means traumatic, but
Right.
he picked up on it and he's like, "You forgot me. You didn't even think about your kid."
Absolutely. You know what? Us children to our parents always love to do that, even though it's in jest, right? It's just,
Yeah,
it's fun to do.
I don't think
That's
my
funny.
son will ever let us live it down that we forgot him.
That's so funny. And it is funny because like you sit there and you think like, oh my gosh, how could we have done this? And your son's playing into it. But in reality, he was fine, right? He was with people he knew. It wasn't like you left him at a park somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
No, he was friends with everybody, and actually he ended up
Yeah.
being an instructor at that same studio because he was there so much. He practically lived there after school hours. So it
Yeah.
was absolutely a totally fine place to be, and it was like 15 minutes. But oh, when he tells the story, he has the Irish thing going too because he
Of
makes it sound
course.
like he was like 3 hours later and he was starving and there was
I
no
was
dinner.
there for 12 days without food or water, no shelter outside. Yep, absolutely. That's exactly what I did. I know I have a story that I tell about my parents when they first got AC put into the house back in the 80s when my brother and I were kids. We were outside. We were outside just playing, and we decided we wanted to come in, and my parents had locked us out of the house. And we're staring through the window, and they're eating sub sandwiches in the nice AC, and it's 90 degrees out, and we're locked out. So we always tell it that way. And my parents are like, we never did that. And we're like, no, you did. And of course, we embellish it each time we say it. Not only that, but they were waving at us, telling us we couldn't come in. Of course, it was an accident. They didn't realize the doors were locked, but it's just funny to tell.
And I love that too because those are childhood memories that everybody knows that are just
Absolutely.
absolutely silly, but it just makes such a funny story when you get family gatherings together and you just
It
laugh.
does.
There's a piece of you that feels bad. Obviously, we felt bad that we miscommunicated on the board, and your parents probably felt bad that they
Oh, yeah,
actually weren't
absolutely.
wrong. But the fact that you can make it so funny because there was nothing life threatening about it, it was just ridiculous.
Exactly. It's just one of those funny things, and I think it's even funnier when we can embellish it a little bit and make it a little bit more than what it really was too,
It makes
It's
it
a good.
best.
Yes.
My aunts and uncles, there are 7 of them. My mother's one of 7, and my grandma loved to read. And my grandma would go upstairs and read, and they would go down in the basement, and they had to play in the basement for like an hour or whatever so she could read. And they tell the story still is that she locked them in the basement for hours on
Exactly.
end. They weren't allowed to come out of the basement while she was reading because they had to stay down there until
No,
she was
yep.
finished. So same thing. We all have
It's like,
them.
yeah, exactly. It's so funny, and it's so great that we can see that, all of us, no matter what our background is, we always have stories like that, which is makes us so much more similar than we probably think we all are.
It's the relatability, and that's what you put in the books and
Absolutely.
the stories. So yeah.
Yep. All right, last question, and I know you want to get into this because we talked about it just a little bit, but salty inspirations. How did we come up with that name?
Well, my husband was actually kind of the forefront of it. So I can get a bit salty. It's a nice way of putting it. I have an Irish temper when things don't always go my way. Now, I don't throw things across the room or like really cause a huge dramatic, but I'm not happy. And everybody around me knows. I kind of like, so have you ever watched the Incredibles
Yes.
on the Disney show? Jax turns into that monster. I feel like I might be that when like tech or something doesn't work. So we're looking and we're trying to come up with this name. I've got these little journals I'm going to do, and I'm trying to find inspiration. I was talking about the inspiration of being outside and how much I love being in nature and how it just inspires me and makes me feel better and invigorates me. So he's the one that was like, we're living the salt life, if you will. We're on the boat, on the beach all the time. And he's like, your attitude's a little salty. And he's like chuckling on the side, and laughing. So it's kind of a combination of me, basically, living here down in Florida now, my new life. from Colorado. And the fact that I have a little salty edge sometimes. And yeah, and my inspirations, the things that I come up with are my inspirations. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's funny now that you're living in Florida and close to beaches, you can see those stickers like Salt Life. You should make one for yourself that says Salty Life.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Do you need a salty life sticker?
Exactly. But this is awesome. So that was it. That was it for Dude Q&A. Hopefully that was pretty easy. Just like to ask some, really off the wall questions just to let people get to know you a little bit better. But Michelle, this has been awesome, and you've definitely got the mysteries, the wellness, a knack for keeping it real, and I really want to thank you for hanging out with me today. But where can the listeners find you? Tell us about Salty Inspirations and what's next for your books.
So saltyinspirations.com. That's the main hub of everything that I have going on. I am on Instagram, and it's a Salty Inspirations Instagram, and the same with Facebook. I'm Salty Inspirations as well. I have a newsletter. The newsletter is the best. You can find that on the website, but the newsletter is the best if you want like your free content or what's coming next, because that's kind of where everybody gets their first see of what's happening. Also, because I do try to support other authors and I have the virtual book tours and things on the Salty Inspiration website each month in my newsletter, I showcase those authors as well. So if you're looking for some new books to read, and maybe you've read mine already, maybe you haven't, hopefully you have, but if you're looking for some new books to read, I have all of those that'll be coming out, and each month I host new authors that will give me either a guest post, a character interview, an author post. Sometimes they give me recipes as well. It's kind of whatever they're wanting for their book that kind of ties in. And so the best place is Salty Inspirations. Go with my newsletter, and you can find me on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, and kudos to you, Michelle, for not only promoting your stuff and your writing, but also promoting other authors as well and helping, lift others up with their writing styles and really, showing people that, hey, you come to Salty Inspirations, you're going to get a lot of stuff and stuff that's not even all me, right? I'm going to introduce you to other writers as well so that we can keep this passion for reading going.
Absolutely. The way I look at it is I can't possibly, I mean, I hope you love my books, but I can't possibly write enough books to keep any one reader
Right.
fed. I mean, if you love to read, I can produce 2 books a year, and, maybe I can speed that up, but that's nothing when my
Yeah.
books are fast reads and you can read them in a week or less.
Yeah.
So
And
the
those
way
are the
I look
best to
at
read,
it,
though. I mean, for me, I love those reads. If they're a fast read, keep me interested, and I can get it done in a week or less, I'm hooked.
that's the kind of reading I prefer. So that's why I started writing this way. But I also feel, just being a newer author in the author world, I also feel that there was a level of competition that some people maybe didn't, that maybe you thought you should have. I don't feel like I'm in competition with other authors. I feel like we should support each other because, like I said, I can't possibly write enough books.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
if we can join together and make this really amazing community where we support each other and help each other and spread the word of really amazing books, then we're giving back to our readers. And that's the whole point in writing, is to give something to a reader so that hopefully you get the escape that you need from whatever you have going on in your life. So that's
Exactly.
part of my inspiration for doing all of this. I do have a writers group I'm part of as well, Southwest Florida Fiction Writers. And I do their newsletter as well. And then I'm actually starting their quarterly magazine so we can start
Oh,
showcasing
nice.
all of our authors that are in that group.
That is such a great idea. I love that because you got all these writers together. Now you can make a magazine and start putting these stories together and really highlight everything that you guys are doing.
That's the goal and kind of my dream, my envision of doing this. The first edition will be out on October, hopefully around the 1st, and we'll see how it goes. But I feel like I've had some great response. I feel like the author community has been very welcoming into this whole idea that I'm creating. And I know it's not the first person in the world to think of this idea, so I'm not trying to take that. But
Right.
the people that I've been around, I have really felt like this to me is kind of my calling, to help other authors find their own space and find their own, path, and to help my readers find more books to read while they're waiting on me.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because it just keeps so many people engaged. It keeps the art form going. And really, truly, I think a lot of people may not always think of writing as an art form, but it truly is, right? We're putting it's instead of paint on a canvas, we're putting words on a page, which is like the paint on a canvas.
Absolutely. It is, I would agree, it's completely a form of art, just like painting, dancing, choreography, all of it. I mean, you're an artist as far as the way
Absolutely.
I look at it, it's you're an artist. So,
And we should celebrate that art and make sure that we get it out to anybody that wants to consume it.
absolutely, and like I said before, I love supporting other authors. I feel like, again, with it was kind of like the door open type situation, and I definitely feel a bit of a calling that that is a path I need to be on. I've had so many new authors come to me like, I've read your first book. This was amazing. How do I become an author? What can I do? I've always had these dreams of becoming an author. So I try to give them like the real, like we had talked before, like the real hard facts that you're going to have to work hard and there's a lot to learn. And that while you finish that manuscript, there's so much more afterwards. But I also love the whole, let me just come be my mentor. I'll be your mentor, and then maybe we can learn from each other because there's other authors within my group that are far ahead of the game compared to me, and they've helped me. So I just kind of feel like it's one of those giving back circles where,
Yeah.
you can uplift somebody.
Yeah, and it's nice that you're taking your experiences and your blessings and passing that on to others because there's folks out there that may not have the abilities, not, I don't want to say abilities, but the opportunities that you may have. And now you're presenting these and your learnings to help people, maybe avoid the pitfalls that you first fell into and, help them to be more successful than you were when you first started. Not saying you weren't successful, but meaning that you've already got the learning underneath. So if you can help someone learn from your mistakes, why not?
I agree completely. And no, I feel like, gosh, I feel like we had said before, there's always so much learning anyway. But yeah, if I can save anybody a little bit of the extra learning steps that I've learned, that I've had to deal with, the potholes I've fallen in, if you will.
Yeah, let me tell you, at this point in life, I am way more willing to learn off of someone else's mistakes than making my own.
Me too. I think that's what happens when you've made enough mistakes, whether they're,
Exactly.
you kind of learn from all that. You're like, hey, dude, why do it the hard way? I'm
Exactly.
going to go over here and talk to you because I know you have more experience than I do. So I'm going to see what you have to say and then I'm going to take it and do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, Michelle, I could not agree more because we all like to of course some things we have to learn on our own, right? We have to make our own mistakes, but not everything has to be that way. So I just love that you're sharing and mentoring and really helping people get off on the right foot because we do need more authors, there's a lot of books out there, right? We still have a lot of books coming out, but I think people it seems like we're trending less and less for readers, and I really hope that by having an inspirational authors like yourself that can come and write in fun ways that keep people engaged, like we said, within a week or so, it can really kick off that love for reading again. And hopefully, that can help us as a nation, as a world to enjoy the art form, escape from our everyday lives and really move on to better our lives through books.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, one of the most, for me, therapeutic ways of just kind of disconnecting, if you will, is to get a regular book. I mean, I do agree. I love Kindle. I love it on my phone whenever I have to. But ultimately, it's just to get a regular book and go outside. Whether it's sit in the sunshine, sit under a shade tree, sit at the beach, sit in the mountains, go camping with it, whatever it is. I love just being able to be out in nature. And it's just, to me, it's just so peaceful. And I think people who don't realize that maybe they haven't done that, or maybe they don't realize that reading can be so imaginative, so enchanting. I think they're missing something because it's just it's so good for us. It's good for our
It
brain,
is.
for our soul.
Yeah, and so for the listeners out there, there's your call, right? Use your ignite that imagination again by going into a book and reading it and finding it fun and putting your own pictures to the words that are being presented to you. It's such a fun experience. It's such a good way to disconnect, and it's such a good way just to get out of your everyday life and escape into a new world, just even if it's just for a little bit. So why not take advantage of it?
I agree completely. I love it. And yeah, that is the best way to escape, I feel like. I mean, you can watch a movie and that's wonderful.
Sure.
I mean, I love watching movies, so I'm not against TV by any means, but I don't know, when you just get into a book, it becomes more personal to me.
Yeah, me
Because
too.
you can actually like fall into that character's shoes. You can become somebody you're not.
Yep, exactly, and you get to paint your own picture from the author's words, right? So when we're watching a movie, right, we see what the author's inspiration was if it's a book that's been put to movie, but then we see their vision, the director's vision of it, right? When we read the book, it's our vision. We're the directors of that movie in our head.
Absolutely. And then if you
Yeah,
get into book clubs and you get into book forums, I mean, you guys can talk about it, and then that's, like, super fun, like, whenever
exactly.
you have the friend that read the same book as you and you guys can absolutely get into it, I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, and that is amazing. And Michelle, we've covered a lot of stuff today, and you are just been absolutely amazing. One of the things that I try to do with the podcast is take normal everyday folks and share their extraordinary stories. And I think this has been nothing short of that. To see what you've been able to do from, conquering health issues to homeschooling kids to becoming an author, moving halfway across the country. I mean, you've done it all. You've definitely, I know your story hopefully will inspire those out there that maybe want to start writing or that have other, things, homeschooling, whatever it may be. But I know that they can go to saltyinspirations.com. But I want to give you one last opportunity. Is there anything else you want to share with the audience today before we wrap on the episode?
I wanna say thank you for having me. I don't know that my life is as extraordinary as you put it. I love that you do. I mean, I've done a lot of things, and it's wonderful. My big thing for people listening is I hope that you read my books. I hope that they inspire you some way, whether it is out of being an escape from your own current life, whether you want to become an author and you wanna send me an email and say, "How do I do this? I have a great idea. I wanna write a story." Just I hope that everybody continues to try to grow and have a great experience with their life. And so hopefully my books will be something that you can add into your life and give you an escape.
And that's a great way to end it right there, Michelle. Thank you again for joining us here on the podcast. And, definitely we want to make sure that our listeners go to saltyinspirations.com, check out all of Michelle's books. You'll also have a guest website or a guest page on my website, justadudepodcast.com. So we'll make sure that that's all set up for you by the time our episode releases. Listeners can go to saltyinspirations.com or justadudepodcast.com, and you'll see all of Michelle's links there as well. Well, that's it for this episode. Please check out Michelle's stuff at saltyinspirations.com. She's got tips, recipes, and stories that'll hook you. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. Just a Dude Podcast is on all popular podcast platforms and social media. Until next time, keep being dudes and dudettes, and we'll catch you on the flip side.